How's about this for an incredible lockdown project? A group of 20 musicians from Sheffield who've worked with the likes of Joe Strummer, Richard Hawley and Jarvis Cocker have recorded a collection of songs with each artist recording their own unique bit remotely in turn before passing it on to the next in line to record whatever they came up with. They call themselves Size of a Planet, and the result, all mixed together, is incredible.
What do you do when things fall apart at the seams? And who can you lean on when you can't tune in to your dreams? Oh no, no. Holding up, I'll stand by you. After the seclusion, we will shine through. I won't keep my distance from you as long as there's a sun and the moon in the sky, way up high, like a big balloon. Silence and blue, silent and true, silent and true.
This is after the Seclusion by Size of a Planet. The lead vocalist here, there is Steve Edwards. Steve, of course, from Sheffield band Lords of Flatbush. Steve, good morning.
Morning, Toby.
Tell us about how you made this song.
So, how you kind of described it in the intro, one of a good friend of mine called Brian Day, so this is during beginning of the first lockdown last year, so kind of April time, a bunch of musicians, obviously we were at a loss of what to do, and, we had plenty of time on our hands. Brian came up with this idea of remotely putting this. The idea was that there's 20 of us, and each of us would put like an idea for a song. It could be a lyric, it could be a keyboard part, it could be a drum part, a guitar part, anything like that. So you can imagine if we're all sat around a virtual table at the same time, we'd put an idea on the table, each of us, and then we'd pass it to the next person in line in alphabetical order, and that person would add their part to the idea.
So
they would pass that on to the next person, and then they'd add their part to the ideas. So it keeps going round in a circle until it comes back. Each idea comes back to the originator, and obviously at that point it's got like 19 other parts added to the song, but the originator hasn't heard what it sounds like until it comes all the way back round after 20 passes, and then it's like fully formed into some kind of song, and they hear it for the first time at that point.
What a way to do it! What an absolute way to do it! So, at what point, where does the vocal go on? Is the vocal last?
The vocal can come in anywhere. The vocal could be, like for instance, the song that you just played. So after the Seclusion, when it came to me, there was a piano part and there was a guitar part on it, and so I kind of came up with the idea of the lyric and the song, the actual melody and the words. So I put that on. Let's say I was the third person to put something on the idea for after the Seclusion.
Wow.
And then I passed it on to Nicola Farnan, who was next to me in line, and she added some vocals to it as well, and then it kept going around until it went back to, I think the person who started that one was Rob Cohen from Wild Cohen. Rob Cohen, I think he started that with a piano part or something like that, and then by the time I got back to Rob, it was formed. So he heard it for the first time then.
So this relies then on everybody having the kind of the same software, does it, and the ability to record at home?
Well, that's very interesting because you can imagine one of the things that lockdown has shown a lot of people. They've been very inventive and finding things to do and ways to communicate with people and all those things. And so between us, because we're a bunch of musicians, producers, songwriters, we've all got various skills. So some people have got studios at home and they can work, they can do all that kind of stuff with software. Me personally, when I work in the studio, I go out to the studio. I don't have a studio set up at home. So literally, you're not going to believe this, but I actually just sang into my phone.
No.
I swear down. I was sat in my room. I've got a music room, like a piano room. I've got my piano and my guitars and stuff. And so I write, when I write a song, I kind of just write in old school, which you're looking through the window and just writing a song. And then I go into the studio and sort of make the songs, make the tracks. But in this case, in this instance, I literally just sang my part. I had my phone on the top of a set of books, press record. I had my headphones on, so I listened to the piano and the guitar in one ear. And when I wrote the lyric and the melody, and I sang it into my phone. So the vocal you can hear there, that's me on my telephone.
Is it? I mean, was it kind of produced afterwards? Has somebody cleaned it up, or is that?
Yes. And when we get the tracks at the end, and they're all kind of full of bits and pieces of everybody's contributions, that's when we kind of start, putting it together and producing it a bit better. And
Isn't it amazing that you did that on your phone, though? I mean, just...
It's amazing, Toby. It's unbelievable.
Look at where we've come.
Obviously, some phones are like, they're so technologically, know. I mean, before, when we were growing up, it was like a cup and, a piece of string.
Mate, I mean, I'm not old, but I remember editing by using a razor blade.
Exactly.
Cutting bits of tape,
wouldn't you? That's right. Yeah.
And I'm not a pensioner yet, but I remember that's how I remember editing was with the razor blade and taping bits of tape together.
That's what we used to do. Yeah, we used to do it down at Bailey Street Studios. I used to do that. And
unbelievable what you can do now. It's a fantastic project, and this is the single, isn't it? After the Seclusion, when's it going to be released?
So it's released tomorrow. This is a debut single. So
Fantastic.
After all this time, sort of 10, 11 months of doing this, we've managed. We set a little record label up called Exquisite Corpse. It's all very DIY, Toby. It's all very Sheffield, very pro Sheffield. That's the beauty of this as well. We're very proud to be from Sheffield. There's one person that lives in New Zealand who's from Sheffield originally, Richard Butler. So it's international in that respect. He lives in New Zealand, but he's from Sheffield. And so the ultimate kind of remote project. And because during the project, not once did we see each other face to face. Not once.
Well, I'm just trying to think, right, I'm just thinking about this genuinely because we've got a couple of days in the studio booked with the little band I'm in. We're just putting down a couple of things. And actually, knowing the band, it'd be much better if we weren't there together. I've got to be perfectly honest.
I can imagine.
This just has started to sound to me like the perfect way of recording.
It is. That way nobody can see you shaking your head when somebody's trying to do their part better than yours.
Absolutely right.
It always works that way, yeah.
That size of a play, let's quickly talk about Lords of Flatbush, if we may. Because obviously the pandemic's hit everybody. How's things with you?
Not too bad, to be honest, Toby. I mean, the first lockdown. I remember the first lockdown. I quite enjoyed it because it was like a novelty. It was like, wow, this is bizarre, and you remember it was red hot, and I remember saying to my kids that this is what I'm just old enough to remember what Sundays used to be like when no shops used to be open. So this is what Sundays used to be like on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. It'd be dead quiet, no traffic, shops were shut. So this is what Sundays used to be like. You play football in the morning, and then you go home for your dinner, Sunday afternoon, and it was great. So for me personally, we've got an allotment, so that was great. That was a lifesaver. We've got a little dog called Jasper, working Cocker Spaniel. He needs lots of exercise. That was a lifesaver. We could all the wildlife and just it was one. So So initially it was good, but obviously I've got like an elderly mum as well. She's 97 and a half years old. Can you believe that?
Wow, man.
My mum was 97. And she lives in Worksop, so obviously for the first few months, we couldn't see her. I was shielding because, I've been, I've had a few sort of health issues the last couple of years, so there's a lot of shielding and stuff. So it was tricky, but it was okay, But obviously from a work point of view, as a musician, it's been devastating. Because of all the gigs and same for you, Toby, I'd imagine, because you do the circuit, with your comedy stuff and period.
Yeah, you just not been anywhere near it.
You couldn't make it up, could you, what's happened?
It's been horrific. But one day the sun will shine, won't it, Steve?
The sun will shine, and that's why that, as the title of the song, it's about after the seclusion, and it's about, the positivity of moving forward. And we adapt, we evolve. And we'll survive, and we're going to survive, and we're going to come out better and stronger. Hopefully, all of us will see their loved ones, and the sun will shine through, Toby, just like you say. And I hope people sort of get behind the project because, as I say, it's a very pro-Sheffield project. It's it's from people in Sheffield, by the people of Sheffield, for the people of Sheffield, and beyond. And hopefully, we're going to do like the plan. We're talking about doing maybe a show in October, November time, where we can, if most of us could get on stage, get a stage big enough if somebody wants to host us.
Well, I'm sure you'll have no end of takers for that, Steve. Thanks very much indeed for talking to us this morning, mate. Much appreciated. Steve was there, and that, of course, is Size of a Planet, who are releasing their track tomorrow. It's Toby at Breakfast. It's BBC Radio Sheffield.
Toby Foster
at Breakfast on BBC Radio Sheffield.